Okay.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us in our Welcome to California session today. My name is Hani and I am the Education USA advisor at the Fulbright Commission in Prague. And today I've got two special guests, John and Catherine. They're both Fulbright grantees and English teaching assistants in the Czech Republic. So maybe some of your students are watching, hopefully they are, and hopefully they'll apply to the United States. So thank you guys for joining me today, and thank you for taking us on a trip to California.
Yeah, it's totally our pleasure. So a little about me for California. I lived in California for 4 years. I went to Westmont College, which we can talk about later. I moved there from Pennsylvania and I lived in Santa Barbara, right on the coast. I'll point it out to you later.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Catherine, and I grew up in California. I was there my whole life. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, but then I went to college near LA to Pepperdine University in Malibu. Yeah. Anyways, I guess we're starting the presentation.
Yeah.
So let me see how. Okay. Oh, perfect.
All right, so on this first slide here, we have a picture showing all of the colleges in California, or all the main colleges in California.
Mm-hmm.
You can see there are so many to choose from. There are colleges all over, and you'll know also, you might notice it's a huge state. California is absolutely giant and eats up a lot of coastline. So the main colleges in terms of grouping areas you'll see are around San Francisco at the top, and then Los Angeles right at the bottom, and then at the very bottom you have San Diego, where you'll see the rest of those colleges. So yeah, a lot of really great colleges to choose from here. And then just kind of telling you about those 3 biggest coastal cities, because you noticed most of those colleges surrounded these cities or were inside of these cities. So I thought I might want to let you in on what those cities are like. So you've probably heard of Los Angeles or LA. Catherine lived kind of right outside on the north of LA. And it's 3.8 million people living there, which is 3 times the size of Prague. Mm-hmm. And what LA is really known for is Hollywood and the entertainment industry. Catherine said she lived in Malibu, and that's where all of the biggest stars live, you know. Catherine, feel free to jump in and talk about LA if you want.
LA is great. It's not my favorite city personally, but there's a lot to do, and yeah, if you really like Hollywood, things like that, there is so much to do. It's completely different than any other city, especially in the Czech Republic. Everything in the world is there.
I mean, I have to jump in also, because I am this Czech person, and for me, LA is like, wow, I have to visit. So I did summer work and travel in the United States, and I worked in New York State, and then we actually flew to California and Nevada, and this was like my dream, to visit Los Angeles and San Francisco and Las Vegas in Nevada. And I was like, oh, and you say Malibu is not like my favorite time, but for me, it was like, this is it, like this is what I see in movies, and this is this Hollywood sign. And I was just like, oh, I have so many pictures, and I really enjoyed it. So from our perspective, and if, when we are living in the Czech Republic, I think this is really worth visiting just to see how different it is, and how hot it is in there as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you guys were saying, LA, you can do everything from go to Disneyland to surf. Yeah, I've been surfing in Santa Monica a lot. Santa Monica is a neighborhood of LA where They have a really great stretch of beach, and every movie you've seen with like LA Beach has been filmed in Santa Monica. Another city further south of LA is San Diego. You might have heard of UCSD. That's a big college in San Diego. And that has 1.38 million, which is about the size of Prague. And San Diego is really known because it has really great manufacturing and a really strong medical industry. Another thing about San Diego is that it's a border city. So it's right on the border between the United States and Mexico. So you have a lot of really good Mexican immigration coming in there, and they're bringing some of the best Mexican food you've ever had in your life. The burritos in San Diego are the best I've had. They're absolutely amazing. So San Diego also has really fun surfing, really great, beautiful city, always warm. Like for me, I like it a little hotter, but for me, it's the perfect temperature year round. And then San Francisco is the third city. Jump in if you want here. San Francisco, Catherine can speak a bit more to it, but it's 815,000 people, slightly smaller than Prague, and it has a huge tech industry. So think about the biggest technology companies, you know, Facebook, Apple, Google. They're all started in San Francisco, and they're all based in San Francisco. So anything that's happening in the tech world is happening first in San Francisco and then to the rest of the world. It's a huge hub for that. It also has really great culture there. There's a ton of different cities. You might know the Golden Gate Bridge, other stuff. Catherine, if you want to jump in and talk about your experience in San Francisco.
San Francisco is a beautiful city. It is a coastal city. So it's like surrounded by water. There's a bay. I love San Francisco. One thing to note, it is very different than Los Angeles. Los Angeles is hot. San Francisco is cold. Los Angeles, there's a lot of people in the entertainment industry. San Francisco, it is more like technology, maybe like nerdy people, you might say. So that's just one very interesting thing about California. If you've ever been to California for any reason and you went to Los Angeles, just know San Francisco is not the same at all, and vice versa. It is a very, I guess, diverse, it's a humongous state. So every different area is very different, but the main thing is, yeah, the technology. There are so many opportunities there, especially like, yeah, living there. I went to Los Angeles, but I studied technology or computer science, and it was hard to find like opportunities in Los Angeles. But then I came home for the summer to my home, which is in the San Francisco area, and there are like endless opportunities. So if you're interested in technology at all, it's the place to go. All the colleges in the area are technology. They all are like really excel in their technology departments.
And I'd like to jump in too, because last year I was working with 2 students who actually ended up at universities in San Francisco. So they're freshmen now. One of them is at San Francisco State University, and the other one is at the University of San Francisco. And Pepa is actually studying computer science, and Elizabeth, she's studying biology, and she's focusing on veterinary science. So if you guys need any personal experience or any tips from Czechs currently in California, in San Francisco, I can definitely connect you with the 2 Czechs who are currently studying their bachelor's degree there.
Great. So I threw in this slide because I feel like, you know, we kind of told you about all the major cities in California, and there are so many opportunities in the cities, but if it were me, I would get scared if I only heard about the cities. And it also doesn't do justice to California, because California has 9 incredible national parks and some other really great state parks too. And if you don't know too much about it, you can see the photos on the right. The top one is from Yosemite, and the bottom one is from Joshua Tree. And so part of the thing, like we've said, California is so big. It has Death Valley in it, which is a huge desert, and you can kind of see Joshua Tree isn't in Death Valley, but it's still that desert vibe, and you can camp out in Joshua Tree. Actually, I camped near Joshua Tree, and then also Yosemite is kind of majestic forest, lots of redwoods, and so
Waterfalls.
yeah, that beautiful waterfall there, tons of waterfalls, great hiking, great camping. I didn't want to leave you guys thinking that California was just cities, because there are some of the most beautiful national parks in America in California. And, you know, throughout college, I was camping at those. Honestly, probably like once a month, I would find a new national park to visit or camp at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And adding on to that, there are a lot of people do call California the most beautiful state in the United States. I agree, but I'm also, you know, I chose to go there to school. I lived there, so obviously I'm biased. But adding on to the cities, Los Angeles and San Diego are in Southern California, and San Francisco is in the middle of California. And then in between, there's just nature. In the north, there's just nature. So although there are more cities than those three cities mentioned, but California has so much nature, and it's very famous because it has valleys, forests, mountains, ocean, has everything you'd want if you like nature. So it's the most like diverse in a nature sense in the US.
So first we'll lead off with colleges in California with Westmont College. So I am a Westmont College grad. I love Westmont. There's two photos of it here, and you can kind of see Westmont is sometimes called Camp Westmont just because it's like, it feels like a summer camp in the United States. It's kind of in the forest, and it's right off of the ocean. And those oceans are, by the way, adjacent from the Channel Islands, which is another national park. You can see the islands in the distance in this photo of Westmont on top. And so just a little about where Westmont is. It's in Santa Barbara, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours north of LA by driving. And it is in Montecito, a neighborhood in Santa Barbara where really famous people live, like Oprah lives in Montecito, and Prince Harry and his wife live in Montecito. And so really great people. They're really nice neighborhood that you're living in a beautiful area with lots of surfing. So a little bit about Westmont College in terms of its international applicants. Westmont loves its international programs. So I've known a ton of international applicants who've had a lot of success, a lot of applicants all around Europe and also all around Africa. Just kind of South America actually has a lot of applicants too. So they are very ready to accept international applicants. They love having a diverse student body. And once you get there, they have a full wing of a department that's ready to help with kind of mending in and being able to navigate American culture as an international student. So again, about Westmont, it's very, very small. In fact, it's microscopic compared to some of the colleges that we're showing you today. It's only 1,300 students on campus. So the average class size I took was 18 people. The smallest class I had 7 people in it. So you get to have a very good relationship with your faculty. In fact, for a while, I was like staying with a faculty member in his house, and I would go over to another faculty member's house for dinner once a week. And I had these very, very strong relationships with faculty members that have gotten me very far in my own fields. I've been able to kind of meet their connections. They've let me use their connections, and they've written me excellent letters of rec that really meant a lot. These faculty members actually ended up becoming really, really good friends of mine. In fact, one of the faculty members, so while I was there over the summer, I was allowed to research with a faculty member, and I was paid for the position. It's a really nice program Westmont has, and it's summer internship and research programs where I was doing some quantum computational chemistry alongside my professor, and he was kind of showing me the ropes of research, and it was really great because I ended the summer with over 400 hours of paid research experience, which is something not a lot of college students that are an undergrad can say. So really great opportunity there. Another thing I would throw in about Westmont College is that there are required religious studies courses. So you're required to take a doctrine class, a New Testament class, and an Old Testament class in Christianity, and there is a weekly chapel. So some students are not Christian, and that's totally fine, and that's honestly great. The student body loves to have that diversity, but just letting you know what you get into if you're applying here ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. What did you study, John? What was the major?
So I had 3 majors. I studied biology, chemistry, and religious studies. Mm-hmm. And I did major honors, meaning I wrote a long thesis project, like a 70-page thesis on my own research in chemistry.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Of course.
Impressive.
I really liked Westmont, and it was a perfect place to do those 3 majors. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, now moving on to Pepperdine University. So like John said, he went to Westmont. I went to Pepperdine. I never went to the Westmont campus, but they seem very similar to me. They're both small religious schools near the ocean in pretty expensive neighborhoods. Yeah, but anyways, so the university I went to was Pepperdine. It is in Malibu, California. I don't know, maybe you've heard of it. It's a pretty famous town. It's a beach town in Los Angeles, and it is known for celebrities and surfing. I saw a lot of celebrities there, and I'm not a very celebrity aware person, so I'm sure I saw more than I realized. But the main thing about Malibu is it's a very small town, and there's not much to do. That was the main complaint a lot of people had, is there's nothing really in Malibu except the beach, which is wonderful. But if you really want a college experience where there's, a lot of bars and a lot of fun things to do, Malibu is maybe not the place for you, but it is a beautiful place. And it is in Los Angeles County, Los Angeles. Maybe it's an hour by car, maybe 45 minutes, depending on traffic, of course. So you could always go to Los Angeles. It's very close, but just so you know, it's a small town, and that was an issue a lot of people had. And Pepperdine's top majors were business and marketing. I studied computer science and math, those weren't very popular majors at my school. So I did also have very small classes. My smallest class was 7 students. So I'll get into that in a second. And as John's school was religious, my school is also religious, specifically Church of Christ, which to some people it's a little bit more of an intense denomination. And you are required to take 3 religion courses during your time here, and you do have to go to chapel once a week. Most of the students are religious, but there also are a lot that aren't. Pepperdine is very interesting. A lot of students come for the religious aspect, and then a lot of them come for the Malibu, Los Angeles celebrity aspect. So it's a very confusing school. There's like sort of 2 different cultures going on almost. There's like the really religious side, and then the really, entertainment side, I guess. Mm-hmm. And 11% of the students at Pepperdine are international. So there are a lot of international students. I don't know what the average percentage is, but there are a lot of international students. And our school does have a lot of like programs to help them, a lot of events for them to meet each other and things like that. I think smaller colleges, in my opinion, probably might be better for international students because they usually do focus a lot more on your well-being and on helping you. Whereas if you go to a giant school, a lot of times you're just one of many and people don't really care about you as much. If you disappeared, no one would notice. But if you go somewhere small like Westmont on Pepperdine, people will know who you are. And so yeah, 11% of students are international. Most of them are from China or Africa. But when I was at Pepperdine as a senior, there were only 3 from the Czech Republic. So just letting you know, although there are a lot of international students, not a lot of them are Czech, but there were 3. So I'm sure you'll find one other Czech student. And there are 3,700 undergraduate students. So it is a small school. It's bigger than Westmont, but still small. And there's a 13-to-1 student-teacher ratio. So that's considered pretty good. Like I said, most of these smaller colleges have better student-teacher ratios. Like John, I was friends with a lot of my professors. And that's a really great thing because when you're friends with them, they are the ones that will offer you opportunities and research and things like that. If you do go to a bigger school, a lot of times there's 100 students in a class and the professor will never know your name. Whereas here, you can be friends with your professors. Once I was stupid and slept through one of my finals. And in US colleges, that's a big deal. Usually that means you fail the class. But my professor, he knew me, he was friends with me, and he said I could do it the next day. And I had no penalty whatsoever, even though I was a senior. So that's very embarrassing. But there are a lot of benefits to being friends with your professors. And I thought I'd just mention some other similar universities. So Pepperdine and Westmont are very similar. There's also Azusa Pacific, University of San Diego. Those are 2 other religious universities if you want a religious aspect. And then another university that's similar is USC. It's another sort of bougie college, but it's not religious. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Pepperdine.
I might also say both my sisters went to Pepperdine. I was actually the rogue family member that did not go to Pepperdine. And they loved Pepperdine. They both adored it. They loved surfing there. And they actually worked connections with celebrities they met. My sister is really good friends with Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So yeah, they just loved it there and they were able to actually make connections through living in Malibu, and yeah, they give it a high rating themselves.
If you're interested in celebrities at all, it is a place to be. A lot of celebrities went to my church, and like marketing is a huge thing. A lot of people get connections through that. So highly recommend if you're into the Hollywood marketing genre of career.
So now we're going on to Stanford. Stanford is slightly south of San Francisco. It's near Menlo Park. Menlo Park, if you know it, is where Facebook and I'm pretty sure Google started there too. So the major technology companies starting in Menlo Park. So about Stanford, you can see it has really a beautiful campus, beautiful architecture, and it's a huge campus also. I lived in Stanford this past summer because my brother-in-law is getting his master's in engineering from Stanford, and also another master's separate from that. And I lived in their family housing with him and my sister and my nephew. And it had a wonderful campus, lots of things to do around it. You can easily bike to some really nice towns, really nice spots, wonderful coffee shops everywhere. And you can see that computer science, biology, and engineering are huge at Stanford. Engineering is a giant department, and their computer science department is world renowned, really. It's like kind of computer science graduates are always just getting swiped by the companies that are there. So I know a lot of people that, graduated and immediately within like 3 weeks were working at Twitter, Facebook, Google, any of the big technology companies. You can see it's a lot larger school at 7,600 undergraduates. That's like what, 5 Westmonts. So it also has a really great student to teacher ratio at 5:1, which is a wonderful student to teaching ratio for that many undergraduate students. They have a lot of faculty on staff. One of the things though is that they have a very large graduate program. They have a master's program, master's college there, and a PhD college there. So what you'll see is that a lot of those students are going to be prioritized for research, and you might not get as many research opportunities as you would at Pepperdine and Westmont, where there's no graduate colleges attached to it. So I loved being on Stanford campus. It is, fairly difficult to get into because it's considered like I think it's called a New Age Ivy League, where it's not as old as Harvard or Princeton, but it has the same reputation. It almost carries the same weight in the like computer science and engineering fields. So similar universities. Catherine, if you want to chat about that, you can nearby.
Yeah, I just added a few similar universities. So there's Claremont McKenna, Pomona, Harvey Mudd, Scripps. I don't know if I spelled Scripps correctly now that I'm looking at it, but these are similar universities. So Stanford is very difficult to get into. I applied, I didn't get in, and so I didn't get in. And these universities are very similar. They also are higher level. So Stanford, like John said, is considered an Ivy League in the West. And basically, if you apply anywhere after having a degree from Stanford, they will probably hire you. The name matters a lot. And although Pepperdine and Westmont might be good schools, a lot of people have no idea who they are. Whereas everyone knows Stanford, so they will take you. And Claremont, McKenna, Pomona, Harvey Mudd, and Scripps are similar. A lot of people call them the Stanfords of Southern California. So they're located in Southern California. They're small. They're also very selective. I don't know how selective they are. I just know they're almost on the same level as Stanford. So if you are a very, very high achieving student with a lot of cool experiences and amazing grades, these students might be for you, and these schools might be for you. And they're similar in the sense that they're very hard to get into, but if you have a degree from there, it's amazing for your career. And I've never actually been to any of these universities, Stanford or any of these, but I've heard amazing things about how great of schools they are.
One more thing about Stanford that I'd like to mention is that if you're looking for like an in the city experience or an on the beach experience, all the Westmont and Pepperdine are on the beach. Stanford is not. Stanford is pretty far inland as far as you can get really with being in San Francisco. So it's a very far drive to the beach from here. It's a wonderful beach when you get there, but it can take about 2 hours because there's so much traffic. Yeah.
That is good to know. So, not a beach school. Okay. And next we have Caltech, or California Institute of Technology. So this school is a technology school located in Pasadena, California, which is in Southern California, about 11, miles northeast of downtown Los Angeles. And it's a very beautiful place. It's got a lot of Victorian and Art Deco buildings. It's very fancy and nice. It is also sort of far from the ocean. I think Pasadena is maybe 2 hours away from the beach, maybe less. I don't really know. I don't go to Pasadena very much, but it's not a beach school. But it's extremely famous. My high school, our valedictorian went to Caltech. That was the best school anyone from my high school got into. So it is a very, very, very good school. It's for science and engineering. If you're into computer science, math, biology, engineering, all those like hard sciences or just sciences, this is a place to go. It has amazing opportunities. According to their website, 90% of undergraduate students participate in research. Obviously, that's from their website, so take everything you read on school websites with a grain of salt. At least that's what I do. They always want to get their numbers up, so they'll do anything to make it look higher than it is. But I do think it's true. There is a 3-to-1 student-teacher ratio, so it's a very small school. They only have about 1,000 undergraduate students, and it is very one-on-one. Teachers will respond to you. My friend that goes there, she said like she would ask one of her professors. She was a freshman, and usually professors don't care about freshmen as much. And she'd ask her professor a question, and they would respond, and it might be a complicated question, and they might respond in a few days with a very long email explaining a very complicated answer to her. So the teachers really care about their students, and they will give you their time. And yeah, it's an amazing school, especially if you're into technology and science. And it is a very small campus, as I mentioned before. My friend told me the dean knows everyone by name. Everyone knows everyone by name. So if you don't like small communities, keep that in mind. But I do think it is amazing for your future. Another thing to know, a lot of very famous researchers at schools like Caltech and like maybe Stanford, a lot of times there are very famous researchers teaching you, or just famous people who've done a lot in their field, which is great because they know a lot of things, but also a lot of times they're not the best professors. So it's one of those things where geniuses will be teaching you, but maybe they're not geniuses when it comes to teaching, but they do usually have very unique, very amazing research opportunities for you. Moving on. And one more thing to note about this, most of the best technology schools in California are in the Bay Area, but this one is in Southern California. So if you wanted to study computer science, for example, in Southern California, this could be for you, but this is also an extremely selective school. And then lastly,
area is San Francisco, just to clarify. That's a Californians have names for every single area that we're not used to. So the Bay Area is San Francisco, and the Nobel Prize for Chemistry just came out of a professor from Stanford. So that's all my bit.
Yeah. No, these higher schools have amazing professors teaching you. So if you, but yeah, sorry, Bay Area means San Francisco. That is something people have told me. They have no idea what I'm talking about when I say Bay Area. So I'm trying to work on that. But lastly, we have UC Berkeley here. So UC Berkeley is University of California, Berkeley. It's one of the public schools, public universities in California. California has amazing public universities. And if you're from California, you get discounts. It's cheaper for you and it's easier for you to get in. So Berkeley is an amazing school, but it is more expensive if you're out of state, and it's harder to get into if you're not a California resident. So Berkeley, starting off, it's located east of San Francisco. If you know Oakland, that's a very famous city in California, but maybe not to international people. But it's located right next to Oakland. And Berkeley itself is also a big city. There's a lot of things to do in Berkeley. It's a lot of restaurants, a lot of bars, a lot of event things you can go to. So that's really great. One of the bad sides about it is a less safe area. So keep that in mind. But everyone I know who's gone there has not had any issues. I just know it's a complaint people have, but for the most part, you're fine. Their top majors are biology and computer science. like I said, computer science is very popular in this San Francisco technology area. And something else about Berkeley is it's a very intense school. I almost went there because I was studying computer science and it was near home. But this kind of scared me away. Everyone who I knew went there. A common thing people tell you is everyone in Berkeley is depressed. And every time I talk to someone from Berkeley, they're like, yes, that is true. That is not a myth. And when I was touring the campus, it's just a very difficult school. It's very competitive. A lot of the other universities we shared are smaller, and a lot of times the students are working together, whereas Berkeley, the way their grading system works, a lot of times you're working against each other. So just warning you, it is very intense. And it is also very political. So if you're into politics, I think it's a great place. But if you are a little more shy when it comes to that, there are a lot of protests. It's very liberal, and California is liberal in general, but a lot of Californians think it's a little extreme. So just warning, it's a little extreme for a lot of people, but a lot of people also love it. So it just depends on who you are, what you want. But those are some things that a lot of people love about Berkeley and some things that people hate. So it just depends on what you want. And some more information about it is it's got 32,000 undergraduate students. So it's huge. And these are just undergraduate students. All the UCs are giant. They all have a lot of students. So you will be one of many, unfortunately. And there is a 20-to-1 student ratio. So for every 20 students, there's one teacher. Usually you have the giant lecture halls. And yeah, it's just a lot of people. There's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of people you can meet, and you get the true like university experience. And Berkeley is a university town. A lot of previous towns we mentioned, for example, I went to Pepperdine. It's not a very university friendly town. There's not very many things for students in town, whereas Berkeley, if you're a student, they love you. They want you to be there. So that's great. And what else do I have here? Oh yeah, and then other similar universities are just the other UCs. There's UC Los Angeles. That's UC Los Angeles and UC Berkeley are about the same level in terms of prestige, but UC Los Angeles is in Los Angeles, and it is the most applied to school, I think, in the world. So a lot of people apply there. US Santa Barbara, should be UC Santa Barbara. That's near Westmont. UC San Diego, UC Davis. All the UCs are pretty similar. They're all very large. They are pretty competitive, so just warning you. But Berkeley is similar to Stanford, where I knew a guy who went there. And he really struggled when he was in Berkeley. He failed a lot of classes, but he managed to make it through. He graduated. And then immediately he studied music, which in the US, if you study music, it's very hard to find a job. That's sort of the stereotype. Usually you have to be a teacher. But he became a private tutor for people, and immediately a lot of people are hiring him and paying him really high wages for the sole fact that he went to Berkeley. So it's extremely easy to find a job after. So it's one of those things where you might go here and it might be really hard, but after, career-wise, it's amazing. And I don't know if John has anything to add to UC's.
Yeah, UC's, University of California, to clear up that abbreviation. They're a really great series of schools, and seeing UC on a resume can open a door. And also the alumni network is very strong for most of the University of California, universities. So I've been on Berkeley campus before. It's a beautiful campus. You can see that tower right there is part of Berkeley. And on the other side of the Bay waters there is San Francisco downtown. So it's just outside of San Francisco. It's like not that far. It's easy to get to any of your locations you want to go to. If you want to see a Golden State Warrior game, a basketball game, or a San Francisco 49er game, an American football game, you know. There's those opportunities are all there. Yeah, I really enjoyed visiting Berkeley when I did. Yeah, I think the main thing to consider by what we've shown you today is location. Do you want to be a beach bum? Do you want to go surfing? I went surfing all the time. I was surfing like, I don't know, multiple times a month, sometimes multiple times a week. And I was like running into seals and dolphins while I was surfing. And it is the most majestic thing to be riding a wave and have a harbor seal join your wave. Like I am still riding that high. But yeah, so location matters a lot. And then also you want to consider a big or a small school. In a small school like Westmont or Pepperdine, you're gonna make friends a lot easier. But in a large school like UC Berkeley, you're going to find communities a lot easier. So you might find a Czech community at UC Berkeley and you'll find your Czech people a lot easier. But you're going to be more of a face in the crowd when you're not with the community. But at Westmont, I knew every single person's name that I wanted to, you know, that I had every friend that I could want while I was at Westmont, and I was always seen by my friends and my professors.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I second what John said about the location, because sometimes you underestimate it and you just go with the name because that's something that you hear about and so forth. But I do have students who choose the school based on the name because they heard about Stanford, they heard about Princeton, whatever. And then they're unhappy because of the location, because they might come from a very small town in the Czech Republic, and now they're in this huge city and they don't know what to do, you know, and they just don't feel comfortable. Or as John said, you know, if you are a really like beach person, really go for it. Like I feel that the school will be amazing, whether it's Berkeley, whether it's Stanford, whether it's Pepperdine, you know, just make sure that even those kind of smaller things such as location or the size and so forth, even the student teacher ratio, it might seem as just like, you know, a detail, but I remember when studying in the US, it made such a difference that I had the chance to talk to the teacher and he knew me and he helped me, you know, when I needed it. So those are all very good things to consider. And I do see UC Berkeley and Stanford on Czech students' college lists, and I think those are great schools. But I'm also happy that we mentioned Pepperdine and Westmont because, you know, just consider it. Some other schools you see two very happy people that graduated from there. So definitely, I would love to see some more colleges from California on your list. Cool. So do we finish off? Is that the last slide?
Yeah.
Awesome. So guys, thank you so much. For those of you who are watching and you might have some more questions, you can definitely reach out to me via email or via social media. I can connect you with the Czech students who are there. And if you have more questions for John or for Catherine, please let me know. I'll be happy to forward it to them. And thank you for watching. And guys, thank you for taking us to beautiful California.